This is from Bukharin's last plea, and I don't have time. He just confesses all over the place, grovels, then he's killed. But the event is named after Yezhov as the Yezhovshchina, what the Russians will do with, to event a phenomenon. That's what the killings are known. And Getty looks at the question of whether, in fact, Yezhov, who's walking along the canal with Stalin there, is in fact the dynamo that brings this all about. And it is, as you saw, massive. Half of the Communist, half the Liberal Party, half the Conservative Party in the next 6 or 7 years executed as terrorists. And I've got to tell you something about this designation as terrorists. One of the most, I don't want to say disturbing things, but what happens with the ones who were exonerated in '56? They're brought back into their communities. Do you think they're welcomed into the communities with open arms? No. You're right. They're viewed with suspicion. It's like the last outrage against them. Because Soviets think, like you think, that once they're identified on CSI, that means they're probably guilty, especially if they up and confess. But they have the same notion. So there is a profound stigma that is attached to the people and to families of people who in fact are picked up and killed. It's the final indignity for those that actually survive. The state, 70% of the Communist Central Committee of 34 is dead by 39. It's astonishing. Half of the Congress, 70. The state and Stalin begins to set quotas for the number of people who are to be picked up on espionage charges. Makes me think of the tutorials for film, because it's mimicked in the one film that I don't think you're going to see, but I do have it listed on the web CT for the kind of, and my expectation, if you're there or not, I'm not going to take attendance when I say required, but I fully expect that that film is not only part of a tutorial experience, but is part of the knowledge of the course, and I'll likely show Moscow does not believe in tears. Hundreds of thousands will die or will be sent to camps. Richard Stites, who has looked at this in a book recently, says millions perished, millions survived, and millions of loved ones eked out their shattered lives. It's an astonishing thing. The Lubyanka. Anyone, do you know what the Lubyanka is? The Lubyanka is just beside. The first time I ever saw it was when we traveled to this country with our oldest daughter. And there's a picture of my wife holding our oldest, our then one daughter, outside the store right beside it, which was a beautiful store called Детский Мир, which is a kid store. So you have the biggest kid store in Moscow, it's really cute, beside the holding cells for the NKVD. You did not want to go inside the Lubyanka, because when you entered into the Lubyanka, you did not likely come out. And you would have not come out the same way. There are many memoirs that begin, we just have a few questions. Would you please just come on down, whenever it suits you, you know. There are bread trucks, and Solzhenitsyn writes about the bread trucks, and we saw them all the time we lived there. They had the catchy title on the bread trucks of chlieb, which means bread. Yeah, means bread. And they were always these bread trucks. They're kind of a nondescript truck, and that they were used for the hauling of people around cities, is what we're told. And when I read this, and then I saw these trucks all the time in the old days, that's the movement of peoples. Lubyanka. I have my fourth-year students read this. I didn't assign it for the longest time, and then someone, another prof at now the University of Alberta once sort of told me to go look at it. So I did. And it's a memoir account of someone who is a loyal party member who may or may not have been associated with someone picked up. Because once you're picked up, and they get you and you confess to everything, and then if it's like someone that you would have been on a hockey team with or whatever, you're dead. You are, by association, it circles around you. And Journey to the Whirlwind is a profound story of that, where she repeatedly meets her questioners. But there's something else I have to say about Ginsburg's book, because as historians, she wrote it all 30 years later, after the fact. She wrote it in the 35 years later, 1 minute left. I'm going to need like about 2 minutes or so. It's an extraordinary memoir. Solzhenitsyn, you're going to be looking at Day in the Life. He wrote, his real claim to fame was Day in the Life, which I'll talk about. But then he put together all these accounts of all of the individuals. You could write an essay on volumes 1 and 2, just almost one of those. Just read through it. It's a critical essay, critically engaged essay. It'd be really quite compelling. Many, many little stories that looks at it. And he keeps asking, how is it that in the midst of that kind of mass carnage, hysteria, why did we confess? Why did we not say something? And that's why Bukharin's plea is so fascinating, the one that I skipped over that you have on the notes. How do you account for it ultimately? 4th of February 1940, Yezhov disappears. He disappears in various ways. He is executed, and he is removed from the photo. By 1940, the Soviets have other concerns. Already around 1940, they will have done deep carnage to their own military elites. But it is a way in which it marks the end with Yezhov's assassination of the horrors of this. He'll be replaced by Beria, B-E-R-I-A. Beria will survive. Does anyone know how long he survives? He lives till within about a week or two of Stalin's death. And after Stalin dies, he will be executed very quickly. And he's executed in part because when you're the head of that position, you know a great deal. That's really all the time we have for this extraordinary, I think, period of the 1930s. We're going to now get to something no less extraordinary, a momentous war. But that's after reading week. I hope you have a fine, fine break. We'll see you after.